a special mailbag episode where I answer all of your guys' questions. What kind of questions did you guys send in this week? Let's find out in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you have not already, head to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's the best way to support the podcast. Let's continue to show Locked On that we are the best and fastest growing fan base at the network. So again, Locked On Pistons on YouTube. Make sure you go hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. I'd really appreciate it. Just real quick, I know that I told you guys this is supposed to come Saturday morning. However, the little site that we do, our recording through, there was some technical difficulties with it. I wasn't able to record. It was not on me. I tried. So you guys will be listening to this probably Sunday morning because, like I said, of the technical difficulties. So I apologize for that. Couldn't really help the fact that the site just wasn't really working. So sorry about that. But I told you guys we were going to get this mailbag episode in. So whether it's a day late, 2 days late, we're getting it in. So let's go ahead and get through all of you guys' questions. We did get a lot of questions this week. So again, we're going to try to get through all of them. Don't know if we will, but we'll absolutely try to get through all of them as much as possible. Let's go ahead and start with Cade Cadet on Twitter. He says, what city do you believe deserves an NBA franchise expansion? I think it's the easy answer here that everyone probably just goes with is Seattle, because Seattle had their team taken away. And I'm going to agree with it. I think Seattle deserves a team. There's a little history there with Seattle. I remember being a kid when they moved to OKC. I didn't understand what was going on, why they did that. But yeah, if I had to pick one city to get their team, I'd give Seattle a team back. I don't think any team honestly should lose. Any city should lose their team. I think the NBA has enough talent now where you could do like an expansion, just add 2 more teams and try to spread out some more talent. I think that's how deep the league is nowadays. So I really do think they could probably just add like 2 more teams, and I think Seattle should be one of them. So yeah, there's the answer to that one. Next one is from Malik Bey. He says, "Are we all thinking we should start Bagley now just to see how it works, or is that just me?" I don't think the Pistons should start Bagley right now because he's still getting adjusted to the playbook, the scheme, the offense, the defensive scheme, playbook, defense. Excuse me. And also, if you're if you're starting Marvin Bagley, you're probably benching Isaiah Stewart. And I don't know if that sends a message that the coaching staff or the front office wants to send to Isaiah Stewart. Do I believe that the Pistons offense would probably function better with him in the starting lineup? Yeah. The defense would take a hit, but I think the offense would probably get better. So it's just a matter of would you take that trade-off? Marvin Bagley has shown already how he can just instantly be an instant spark offensively and just bring a different element offensively that the Pistons haven't had all season. Cade and Killian tried throwing an alley-oop to him, I believe, in the third quarter of last night's game last night's game when you guys listened to this, or not last night, they played at 12. In the third quarter of the game, and Bagley was able to get free throws out. He could have got fouled. Cade threw like 2 more to him as well in that game. Obviously, we all saw the highlight of Cade going behind the back and lobbing it to him against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Bagley is doing his thing offensively. He definitely would bring a different element, but I don't know if they want to go that route of sending that message to Stu. I think this team has made it pretty clear that defense is like over everything. And you guys know I've said on the podcast for a few times this season, I'm ready for this team to stop focusing on defense all the time and saying screw the offense. Ever since I started watching the Pistons, it seems like defense has always been the issue, but the offense always sucks and nothing translates because of it. I'd like for 1 year for this team to just say, you know what, we're going to go and try to score. If it takes a hit defensively, let's do it. So to answer your question, though, I don't think they're going to start Bagley. I doubt they do, unless like towards the end of the season they start sitting Jeremy Grant and stuff to just rest out the rest of the season. They just decide to start Bagley at the 4. But I think that's the only chance you'll see whether Bagley starts or not. This next question is from Sam on Twitter. He says, after watching Bagley a few games, what's his ceiling and how fast can he achieve it? I think it's a little too soon to answer this type of question. I don't know how fast he can achieve it or wherever his ceiling is. I don't think no matter how many games you watch somebody, you don't know how fast or how slow it's going to take someone to get to how long it's going to take someone to get to their ceiling. But what is his ceiling? I think he could be a starting caliber front court player who puts up like 15 and 10, 16 and 10, 16 and 8 kind of thing. Uh, he can score quickly. He's a very easy scorer. He'll get buckets off of putbacks. He'll get buckets off of alley oops. He'll get buckets off of dump offs. Occasionally, he'll go in the post and be able to take advantage of a mismatch. He's going to draw fouls, which we've already seen from him in the Pistons uniform. He does a pretty good job at drawing fouls. So offensively, I think his counting stats could look good if he stays healthy, like 16 and 8. I think honestly he could do that at his ceiling. But defensively is where it's really going to come from. In order for him to hit his ceiling and be able to play those type of minutes and start in the league, he needs to become at least like, he doesn't need to be a good defender, but he needs to be like a passable one where he's not actively hurting your defense. Like if he's not a good one, he's a below average one, but he's just not actively sabotaging your defense, then I think he'll be fine. He can reach his ceiling, but he has to get to that level because if you watch him off ball a lot of time, and one thing I will give him credit for, and we said it in the first game we watched with him, and it's continued to happen. He does not jump on pump fakes. He just doesn't do it, and I've liked seeing that. At least so far through 3 or 4 games he's played, he does not jump on pump fakes. And I really like seeing that. But outside of that, you can see his struggles defensively. He has to improve in that area, and then that will enable him to be capable of hitting his ceiling offensively because he'll be trusted with more minutes. So that's where I'm at with Marvin Bagley. Next question is from Taylor Clark on Twitter. Says, who do you want the Pistons to draft to get the number 1 overall pick? So I'm going to go ahead and spoil this for you guys. I don't know who I'd want the Pistons to draft the first overall pick, but you guys, obviously, you've been asking a lot of draft questions, a lot of prospect questions. We're getting towards the end of the season. Like there's 20, 22, 21 games left in the season. So it's not the end of the season yet, but definitely in the final third. So I guess it's time for us to start talking about prospects, and I'll go ahead and spoil this for you guys. Next week, we're going to be having some draft guys on the podcast to talk about this. So stay tuned. I can't answer that question for you right now, but stay tuned to next week. We will have some draft guys on the podcast to talk about that kind of question and go over the rumored big board that the Pistons have that was put out by The Athletic or something. So we'll talk about that next week. When we come back, we'll continue to answer all of your guys' questions that I have had sent in from you guys. I appreciate all that. All the questions you guys do send in. If you guys' questions do not get answered on this week's episode, or if you didn't send in a question and you want to hear your question answered on the podcast, make sure you tweet it at me at Kukahil, or you can comment under one of the YouTube videos. Make sure you put hashtag mailbag so I know it's a question for the mailbag, etc. But yeah, when we come back, we'll answer even more of you guys' questions. But first, I have to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, you guys' favorite sponsor, Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not even really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. And have you ever tried the Puffs Built Bar? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're an absolute treat. And guess what? They're covered in 100% real chocolate. Just like all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Low calories, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these Built Bars. They're much better and they taste better. And they're better for you. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Go to Built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be absolutely blown away by what you see. High protein, low calories. High fiber, low carb. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. And they have all kinds of flavors as well, like mint brownie, coconut almond. The new flavor for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. You guys know my favorite is peanut butter flavor. But they have all kinds of flavors on the website, and they're constantly coming out with new limited time flavors every single month. So make sure you guys are checking out Built.com to see the limited time flavors for that time. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you have not already, head to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button at Locked On Pistons. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't hit the subscribe button already, what are you waiting for? You're coming back for the content. You feel me? Support the podcast. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. Continue to show Locked On that we are the fastest and best growing fan base at the Locked On Network. I'd really appreciate it. Again, Locked On Pistons on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Let's go ahead and get into some more questions. So this question is from Fueled by Motown. And he says, can you tell us your story of how you got to where you are? I think a lot of us don't know your backstory of how you got here. So I talked about this the very first podcast when I took over back in last April. The whole first podcast was me telling you guys who I am, what I'm about, where I came from, etc. But I'll give you guys a little bit of update. It has been close to a year. I've gained a lot of new followers, a lot of new listeners on the podcast, a lot of new subscribers, obviously. We didn't even have a YouTube last time when I first took over. So there's a lot of people out there who probably don't know how I started out. So I'll try to make this fast for those of you guys who already know and have heard me talk about this. But I graduated from high school in 2016. That same year in 2016, I started my own blog. I think it was a blogspot.com or something where you can create your own like online blog, whatever. And I would go on there. I would just write about Pistons stuff. I'd write about the Pistons. I'd write about the Lions. That was the year that Stafford had all those comebacks, and they lost the Seahawks in the playoffs. I wrote about some NBA stuff. I remember that was the year KD went to the Warriors, and I wrote about that. But yeah, I made a blog. I just wrote on there. I didn't, I wasn't. It wasn't edited great, but I got my stuff out there. I got my opinion out there. And then I eventually got on Twitter and started trying to make my Twitter like a source for my stuff and my personality, whatever. So then eventually I also made a YouTube that same year. I started doing videos nonstop on YouTube at least twice a week. And then eventually Palace of Pistons was it's a writing spot you guys probably know about in the Pistons community, reached out to me and told me that I could, if I wanted to write for them. I said, yeah. So I started there, still made YouTube videos. So while I was writing there, I made a YouTube video about the Pistons and what they should do with KCP and his contract. And Detroit News beat writer Rod Beard, he checked it out. And he gave me this long response in the comment section down below and really encouraged me to keep going. And he became like a mentor to me in 2016. And I'm cool with Rod now, still to this day. I love Rod because he gave me a lot of confidence. But yeah, started with that, did a YouTube. Eventually, Palace of Pistons. I went from Palace of Pistons to Piston Power because my boy Sham, who we've had on the podcast, was the editor there. This was before I met Sham. He liked what I was doing. He reached out, asked me if I wanted to join them at Piston Powered. I joined them at Piston Powered. Still was doing my YouTube videos. Once Sham left, I ended up taking over for him as the editor and site expert there. That was my first ever paid job involved in this area of field. So I was the editor there. After leaving as the editor there, I ended up taking on credentials at WJR. That was when I attended all the games in the 1920 season. Still doing YouTube on the side, but I was credentialed that season, was able to go to every home game. That was a ton of fun. The buffet there, the food at the Pistons game is amazing. But yeah, I took the credentials 1920 season. And then after that, I was just writing a Detroit Bad Boy, still doing some YouTube videos in the 2020-2021 season. That's eventually how Locked On found me. They found me on YouTube, found that I had credentials in the past. I was an educated person. But that's where I started. I started all the way back in 2016 with a small blog that I created for myself and was just writing whatever and just got my voice out there, grinded a lot, made a lot of YouTube videos, made a lot of blogs. Eventually was able to turn that into getting a small spot somewhere, elevated a little bit to Piston Powered, then elevated within Piston Powered, used that to get myself credentials, continue to grow my YouTube fan base. Eventually got that to get me a chance at Locked On, and I've taken Locked On and absolutely went with it. So that's my story right there. That's how I started. That's how I did all this. That's where I've come from. Like many of you guys, I grew up wanting to be an NBA player, but 5'9" dude with short arms, this wasn't going to work. So I transitioned after high school to this, and it worked out. So that's how I got where I am. So there you go. For those of you guys who've never heard that, I know, like I said, we've had a lot of new listeners come to the podcast. Obviously, a whole new fan base on YouTube because that wasn't around when I first told you guys. But that's how I started. Next question will be from Dre on Twitter. He says, the way Killian was battling down there with the bigs, what do you think of the idea of moving Killian to the 4 in a Draymond Green type of role? So he's talking about the game against Cleveland where Killian was just switching on all the bigs and just causing havoc defensively. I know you're somewhat trolling, but this is the reason why if Killian can just simply develop offensively in the offseason, he'll simply be like one of the most valuable players like you can have. Because look at Lonzo Ball. And I know a lot of people don't like the fact that I continue to use Lonzo Ball over and over, but he really is like the best comparison right now. Great defensively. He was impactful defensively, a great passer, great transition passer, smart player, all those things for his first 2 years, but he couldn't do anything offensively. He couldn't shoot, he couldn't finish, he couldn't do anything. As soon as he simply developed a three-point shot, he instantly became like a top 50 player, top 60 player. Like, he's incredibly valuable. And that's all Killian has to do. He's developed something offensively, because as soon as you do that, now it makes it worth having him off on the floor offensively. He brings something there, and then his immense impact in every other facet of the game just rises, because you don't have to worry about him being a liability offensively. Now he's right there in that role, being an extremely valuable NBA player. So I know that kind of went away from your question. No, I don't think the Pistons should move him to the 4. I know you were somewhat trolling. I was having a little fun with that, but yeah, that's my takeaway from what you asked and how I think about Killian. Next one is from on Twitter at Tads. He says, who of Stewart, Sadiq, Killian will lose the most opportunity to develop now that Marvin Bagley III is here? I don't know if any of them should lose development, but I guess it probably impacts Stu the most, because he's going to be taking minutes from him. I think it has to hurt him the most. If anything, I think he helps Killian the most, and then Sadiq just kind of stays neutral. Sadiq's going to do his thing no matter what. Stu loses the most, Killian gains the most. Even though I don't think Stu loses that much, because I think he should be a bench big anyways, if that ends up being what happens. So I don't think it absolutely hurts him or something. Next question is from Craig G on Twitter. Hypothetically, if the Pelicans made Zion available to the Pistons, what would you want the Pistons to try to trade for him? I'm not even going to give like a package. The Pistons don't have a package that would even come close to trying to get Zion. It would have to be like Cade plus multiple other things. And then at that point, it's not worth it at even a little bit. The Pistons have no chance of getting Zion. Not even going to entertain that question much longer. But next one is, we'll end it right here, and we'll go to the ad break, and then we'll answer some of your questions when we come back. This one's from Ari Wagner. He says, is your Locked On Pistons budget too small to grip you on a non-mirror selfie photo? When's media day to get your pro photo? First of all, my mirror profile picture on Twitter is dope, because it was when I had my braids, and I really want my braids back. That's why I have it there. 2, I have plenty of pictures that are not selfie photos that I've made my profile picture. And second, there is no media day for Locked On Pistons, even though I'm sure I could probably get a pro photo done. I have had a pro photo done when I was credentialed in 1920, but I don't think I look as good in that picture. So I go with this one. I like my braids, all right? I like looking good in my profile picture. Do I care about looking more professional or looking good? Yeah, on Twitter, I think I'm going to rock with looking a little bit better. You feel me? But anyways, when we come back, we'll answer more of you guys' questions. Try to answer all the questions you guys have left in the final segment. But first, I had to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors. This sponsor is BetOnline.net. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fire coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action today. I know I used BetOnline.net and took advantage of this on the Super Bowl. I won all kinds of money because my dude, Matthew Stafford, went out, won the Super Bowl. I had some bets on there. I did it all through BetOnline.net, and I was a pretty happy camper. So again, head to the website today, BetOnline.net, or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to close in 2,000 subscribers and continue to show Locked On. We're the fastest and best growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, if you haven't already, at Locked On Pistons on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. But let's get back into these questions to try and answer all of these I can possibly get to. I'm going to try to answer all of them. I think we got like 12 more or something. We're trying to get through all of them as quick as possible. So let's go. Rapid fire. This one is from Abdulia Garcia. I hope I said that right. He says, which COD game is your favorite and why? Okay, so COD is Call of Duty. If you don't know this, I know this isn't Pistons related, but I love it when you guys ask me fun questions because it's, you know, it's cool to have fun every now and then. So my favorite Call of Duty game of all time is Black Ops 2. I would go with Modern Warfare 2. However, Black Ops 2, I feel like it's just the better game. Modern Warfare 2 probably has better memories and the nostalgia factor. But the best game I've played and my favorite one to play probably is going to be Black Ops 2. I hope they remaster Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 2 at some point because I just don't get why they haven't done that yet. It doesn't make no sense. Next question is from Great Scott 98. He says, why do we have to play Corey Joseph so much? Where is Saban Lee? Where is Livers? Is Livers hurt again? One, Corey Joseph plays a lot because he's Dwayne Casey's guy. He's shooting well from beyond the arc, and he wants a guy, next to Cade Cunningham, who apparently can shoot the ball a little bit better or try to score more in the off-ball role. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's why he's playing so much. Saben Lee, I think he'll probably get some run towards the end of the season. They gave him a chance midway through the season, but again, I think Saben Lee is in that area where he's just so explosive and too much of an athlete for the G League. He's going to dominate down there. But in the NBA, he's not that much better of an athlete than everybody else, and he's not talented enough in other areas where he's actually an NBA player right now. He could be stuck there in that DeJuan Summers role the rest of his career. So I think that's why you're not seeing him play right now. And Livers, we just talked about Livers a few podcasts ago. Dwayne Casey just said that they're going to try to get a look at him, Isaiah Livers, and God, why am I drawing a blank on the other guy? Chris Smith. They're going to try to get a look at both Isaiah Livers and Chris Smith soon. I don't believe Livers is hurt again, unless he got hurt in like the last 24 hours or something. He was just playing in the G League like 2 days ago. So Livers is not hurt. We should be seeing him at some point, him and Chris Smith, just a matter of when Dwayne Casey decides to do that. So just stay tuned with that. Next question is going to be from Kenyatta Stovall. Says, is starting Cade, Bay, Grant, Bagley, and Stu a good lineup with Hayes, Frank, Diallo, Garza, Livers, and Olynyk off the bench? I don't think Stu, and I don't really like Stu and Bag as a combination. Now, they actually have looked better than I thought they would look. It's still a lot to be seen. You still wait to see if it can work. But me personally, I don't think that's probably a long-term good front court to have. I also don't believe in Sadiq Bey at the 2. I really don't believe in that, actually. I don't think he can guard 2s. He can go 3 to 4, 4 to 3, but I don't think he can go to 2 at all. So having Sadiq there at the 2, I don't like that. And also having Cade be the only ball handler on the floor, I think puts way too much pressure on him and kind of makes him you're not really taking full advantage of him if you're making him ball handle the entire time. So you need either Cade and Killian or Cade and Corey, or moving forward, if you don't want to start Killian because he hasn't gotten better. If Killian has gotten better offensively, I think he's the perfect fit next to Cade. But if he hasn't gotten better, then you find someone else who kind of is the archetype of Killian, but except it's good, and start him next to Cade. So Cade can play off ball and on ball, come off of screens, run pick and rolls, do all that kind of thing. So no, I don't think that lineup you suggested is that good of a lineup. I think they would run into multiple problems here. Next one is from Idris. It says, why does Saban get no burnt? Reminiscent of C. Wood because Thon debacle and early season Hami treatment. No, I don't think that's the same thing. Because C. Wood actually could really play. Obviously, he showed that he was really playing and dominating in his NBA minutes. Hami actually was not playing that well at the beginning of the season, so I get why he wasn't playing. But he definitely earned his way back in. Saban has dominated the G League, but he hasn't looked that good in the NBA. Again, we just talked about this. I just answered that question a few minutes ago. So I don't think it's anywhere close to C. Wood and Hami. Hami wasn't playing well. He deserved to get benched at that time. And C. Wood, he actually was showing legitimately like good spots and bright spots and reasons to play him more in NBA minutes. He should have been playing overtime much earlier. I agree with that, though. Next one is from Dre on Twitter. When do you think Casey's love affair with Kojo will end? Hopefully the offseason. That's the best I got for you. But as long as he's on the team, you're going to continue to get this over and over and over. Again, best I got for you. Next question is from, where's it at? Oh, I just lost it. Where'd it go? It's from Bryce. Okay, here it is. Bryce asked me, best eating spots in Detroit, American, something with international flavor and dessert. Which one are we hitting up when he comes here in a few weeks? Which, by the way, yes, Bryce is coming to Detroit in a few weeks. First time ever here. So I'll be trying to show him around a little bit more. I don't know as many restaurants in Detroit. I only went to a few. I don't live in Detroit. I live in Metro Detroit. It's like 10 to 15 minutes away from Detroit. I don't live downtown or anything, right in the city. But I have went to Pizza Popolis, but I don't believe Pizza Popolis is around. I don't like Pizza Popolis, by the way. I hate it. My fiance loves it, but I absolutely hate Pizza Popolis. I went to Green Dot Stables. Green Dot Stables was really good. I like that. In Coney Island, any Coney Island, I love Coney Island, by the way. Absolutely love Coney Island. I think Coney Island is like the greatest food out there, to be honest. Somewhat trolling, somewhat being serious. But anyways, if you guys have some better answers for some spots in Detroit, those of you who live in the city, if you guys have any better restaurants, tweet them at me or tweet them over at Bryce. Let them know some spots because you will be here soon, and I definitely want to take them to some restaurants. I'd like to try out some restaurants as well that I haven't went to in the city as well. But I believe that's all the questions you guys have asked. I think I got through all of them. Oh, actually, no. There's one more. This one's from Matt McLeod. He says, what do you believe our best path forward is at the guard position besides Cade? Like I said, I've said this a lot of times in the podcast. It quite literally is a better version of Killian Hayes right now. If Killian can get better offensively, then Killian is the best fit next to Cade. But if Killian does not get better offensively and he struggles offensively and he doesn't get there, then you just get the same archetype as Killian that's actually good. Like a guy who can play defense, a guy who's a great passer, a smart player, can switch across positions, impact the game defensively, and can take some of the ball handling responsibilities off of Cade because he's a really good passer, and can bring something scoring-wise, whether that's being able to spot up in the corner and hit threes, whether that's being able to draw free throws at the rim or attack the lane, something. You have to bring something offensively while also bringing all the other things Killian does. I think that's the best fit for Cade next to him because Cade, and we've mentioned this a lot on the podcast before, Cade is not at his best when you're making him only do one thing like the whole time. The thing that's great about Cade is the fact that he's able to do so many things. So you need to be having him do all these things. So you take advantage of all of that. Spotting up, coming off ball screens, coming off ball screens, coming off pin downs, pick and roll, obviously, isolations, picking out mismatches, posting up. He should be doing all these things. He's good at all of them. If you force him to only do one of them the entire time, you're not really getting the best value out of him because that's not what he's not particularly absolutely top of the league at any one thing. He's just really damn good at all these things. So if you take advantage of all of it, then you get that great player. If you put him into just one box, you're not really getting that great player because you're not taking advantage of everything else he brings. So that's my answer there. A better version of Killian Hayes. I'm sure the Pistons hope that Killian Hayes develops offensively, so he's the answer. But if he's not, you could realistically see, I think, just an archetype like him starting next to Cade. I know there's been a lot of rumors of Jalen Brunson next to Cade. I don't like that because Jalen Brunson is undersized. I don't want an undersized guy next to Cade. I'd want another guy just like him, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", next to him, who can ball handle, play defense, take the responsibility off him a little bit, run the offense, great in transition passing, all those kind of things, and then bring something offensively. So that would be my best ideal guard next to Cade. But I believe that's all the questions you guys have sent in. If I missed you guys' question, let me know on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. I'll try and answer it next week. Make sure you send it to me again. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. Again, I'm sorry that it came out on Sunday instead of Saturday. But again, like I said, there were technical difficulties that I simply couldn't control. Now, make sure you guys go make Locked On NBA your second listen of every single day. It's also free and available on all your podcast platforms. You got Locked On hosts talking about everything across the NBA Monday through Friday. So again, make sure you guys make that your second listen of every single day. Make sure you guys go to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's the best way to support the podcast. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you guys on tomorrow's episode. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe, everybody, and go Pistons.